Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Learn to Code for Absolute Beginners course. This is something I've been wanting to do. I've actually went through free Code Camps courses before, but I think this one will be much more engaging and valuable to those of you who want to learn web development 2023. I know it's right around the corner, and an extremely it's an extremely valuable skill um, to know to program. And we're gonna go ahead and get started with freecodecamp.org and their course, Learn HTML by Building a Cat Photo App. So this is for absolute beginners, and if you've never heard about coding and programming and how it works, then I'll do my best to explain a lot of the reasoning behind these lessons, which is much more than just learning the languages. Okay, so we're going to start off with Learn HTML by Building a Cat Photo App. HTML tags give a web page its structure. So, that first sentence is like, what the hell is an HTML tag? So let's start off looking at this. Let's inspect our page using our browser of choice. I right clicked, hit inspect, and I see all this structure. Right at the top, we have a doc type HTML. So all this here, any web page you go to on your browser will give you this inspect tab, and you'll be able to pick out certain elements. If I click this here, I could click this here, and I see it's a paragraph. I can't click up there, but if I click it and then I see here on the right, I can expand it, and we see that content. This is a paragraph element. So let me exit this and continue. So HTML tags, those are that P tag, that's a tag. So HTML tags give a web page its structure. We have other things like headings and lists, but this here was a paragraph. So HTML tags give a web page its structure. You can use HTML tags to add photos, buttons, and other elements to your web page. This here is an element. Let me just, so you know I'm not lying, inspect it. That is a anchor tag with a class of button. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff, but basically all of a web page is made out of HTML elements, and one of those is an anchor tag, which allows us to create a button or a link somewhere. Not all buttons link places, but in this example, this button does. And links are A tags. Okay, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to confuse anybody, so let me exit out of here. Just know that every web page is made out of elements. Okay? So let's start project. In this course, we'll learn the most common HTML tags by building our own cat photo app. Let's start. Here's a preview of what you will build. Cat photo app, cat photos. Click here to view more cat photos. There's a link or an A tag. Here's an image. Cat lists. Things cats love. Cats love catnip, laser pointers, and lasagna. We have an image of lasagna with the captions, cats love lasagna. Top 3 things cats hate. 1, flea treatment. 2, thunder. 3, other cats. Here we have an image with the captions, cats hate other cats. Even though these cats look like they're cool with each other, but that's beyond me. Here we have a cat form. Is your cat an indoor or outdoor cat? Indoor, outdoor. My cat's indoor. He stays inside all day. What's your cat's personality? Loving, lazy, energetic. Energetic. Loving also. Cat photo URL. I don't got one. No copyright. freecodecamp.org. Okay, start coding. Cool. So here's our code. In case you guys are new to Free Code Camp and don't really know how this works, so they give us this code on the left, and then it outputs here on the right. Here on the left, we have a file called index.html. This is no different than if you create a folder, and in that folder you create a file, and you call it index.html. Then that folder, you would open it in that, then that file, you would open it inside that folder. And when you open it, you would have a text editor. I like to use VS Code as my text editor. And in there, I would create a file called index.html. And it's going to look like this. It's going to have an opening tag HTML, an opening tag body. So the body tag is inside of the HTML tag. The closing is down here. We actually don't see a close. Oh, we do. We see it right here. This is the closing body and HTML tag. So everything inside of this step 1, it's inside of our body. Okay, so the HTML, inside of it, it has a body. And you see the body close here. You see the HTML wrap around the body and the content inside of the body, which is this line 3. So we have line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5. So HTML elements have opening tags like H1 and closing tags like H1 with a closing symbol, which is a /. So every page that you ever see on the internet is made up of these HTML elements. In this particular lesson, they're just saying HTML elements have opening tags like H1s or H2s or H3s or P tags. The text for an element goes between its opening and closing tags. Find the H1 element and change its text to cat photo app. Let's copy this. If you guys aren't at freecodecamp.org, now's your chance to begin. We're still in the first lesson. And cat photo app. We're going to go here where it says hello world. And we're going to add cat photo app. So within our body, we have an H1 that says cat photo app. We're seeing it display here on the side because it's an H1 element, so we see it looking like a heading. And it says what the instructions say it should say, so we should be able to check our code. And we did pass the test, which means we could submit and go to the next challenge. Then we have step 2. The H1 through H6 heading element are used to signify the importance of content below them. The lower the number, the higher the importance, so H2 elements have less importance than H1 elements. Only use the H1 element per page and place lower importance headings below higher importance headings. Below the H1 element, add an H2 element with this text, cat photos. So here we can go to the H1, go below it, and add an H2 with the text cat photos, like so. And then we check our code. We do see here on the right that it does display cat photos in an H2. Let's check it. We do pass. Submit and go to the next challenge. So step 3 says the P element is used to create a paragraph of text on websites. Create a P element below your H2 element and give it the following text. Click here to view more cat photos. So in line 4 here, we're going to go under the H2 and we're going to do an H3, or a P, my bad, P element. And in the middle of the P element, we're going to do click here to view more cat photos. Let's check our code. We pass and go to the next challenge. Step 4. Commenting allows us to leave messages without affecting the browser display. It also allows you to make code inactive. A comment in HTML starts with this symbols here, contains any number of lines of text, and ends with this here. For example, this comment here, contains the text to do, remove H1. So what you see here. Add a comment above the P element with the text to do, add a link to cat photos. Let's copy this. And it's saying add a comment above the P element. This is the P element they're mentioning. And above here, paste a comment. So that means that we're going to do this in the beginning and this at the end. Check our code. We passed. We could go to the next challenge. So HTML5 has some other elements that identify different content areas. These elements make our HTML easier to read and help with search engine optimization, or SEO, and accessibility. So SEO is important. If you want to be found on Google, you want to have good SEO, which is just basically your keywords. You want good keywords so that whatever your titles and descriptions are similar to what people are searching for when they look for your website or your app or whatever. So HTML, body, and then we have this code. We read this. Identify the main section of this page by adding a main opening tag after the H1 element and a main closing tag after the P element. So let's add the H1, the main opening here, and then under it, we'll add the closing main. And again, the opening and closing main, it holds all this inside of it. And this is more for SEO, so browsers know this is the main topic of this specific page. So once we do that, we could check our code. Sorry, your code doesn't pass. What did we mess up? Your main element opening tag should be below the H1. Okay, so cut that out. Go under the H1. So everything under our H1 is part of the main area. So let's add that main here. And let me do that. this looks better. And then let's give a tab to this content. Cool. So everything within the main tag is the main content of this page. Let's check our code. And we did pass. So let's continue to the next one. So cat photo app, step 6. In the previous step, you put the h2 comment and p element inside the main element. This is called nesting. Nested elements should be placed 2 spaces further to the right of the element they are nested in. This spacing is called indentation and is used to make HTML easier to read. The h2 element and the comment are indented 2 spaces more than the main element in the code below. Use the spacebar on your keyboard to add more spaces in front of the p element so that it is indented properly. So they're just telling you to go here, and again, indentation is more for yourself so that your code is clean. Here we have a main element, and everything inside of it should be nested the same way. This p element is not nested the same as this h2. So we need to fix that. Let's go here to the p element and double space. We should be able to check our code, and we did pass. Let's go to the next one. Again, indentation isn't necessary, absolutely, but it does help us know that this content, this p tag and this h2 tag, are within the main element. Let's continue. Okay, so here we have again 1 through 6. We have the HTML, the body, and inside of there we have the h1 that has this main tag, and inside of there we have this h2 with this comment to do add link to cat photos. Down here we have line 7. Click here to view more cat photos, and under that we close the main and the body. So step 7 says you can add images to your website by using the image element. Image elements have an opening tag with a closing tag. Without a closing tag, a tag for an element without a closing tag is known as a self-closing tag. Add an image element below the p element. At this point, no image will show up in the browser. So under the p, let's do that. Image with a self-closing tag. Okay. So right now, this is all it's asking us. And let's check it. We pass. Continue. Step 8 says, HTML attributes are special words used inside the opening tag of an element to control the element's behavior. The source attribute in an image element specifies the image's URL where the image is located. An example of an image element using a source attribute is this here, example.com. So we have our image tag here, and inside of the image we have this source, which is assigned this URL. Inside the existing image element, add a source attribute with this URL. Let's copy it. And then in here, we're going to do source is assigned, and then paste it. And we do get that cat image. Check our code. Readers to improve accessibility and is displayed if the image fails to load. For example, image with a source of cat, which is not a good link, and the alternative text a cat has an alt attribute with the text a cat. Inside the image element, add an alt attribute with this text, a cute orange cat line on its back. Copy that. So here we have our image source, and so where would we add this? So it has the alt attribute. We don't have an alt attribute here. Let's add the alt attribute and then paste in a cute orange cat line on its back. Let's check our code. We pass. Let's continue. So here we have step 10. You can link to another page with the anchor or a element. For example, here we have an a element from here to here. Inside of the a element, we have where we're linking to. In this case, we're linking to freecodecamp.org. Add an anchor element after the paragraph that links to freecatphotoapp.com. At this point, the link won't show up in the preview. So let's add that right under, let me see, add an anchor after the paragraph. So after, we're adding an anchor tag, which is an A tag. And we're giving it, inside of it, we're doing the href of https freecatphotoapp.com. So let's do that here. And then let's run that. Didn't pass. We need a closing tag. Closing A. And it should have something in between, maybe. Oh, it doesn't say to. Let's just try to run it. It does pass. Go to the next one. Ask me later. Okay. So a link's text must be placed between the opening and closing tags of an anchor element. For example, here we have an A tag with this href, which links to freecodecamp.org. But then inside of there, they have this text. Click here to go to freecodecamp.org. And then it ends the A tag. So we're going to do something similar to that. Add the anchor text link to cat pictures to the anchor element. This will become the link's text. Let's copy this. And then paste it in between here. So we see that link to cat pictures. Let's run it. We do pass, continue. So here, in the previous step, you turn the words link to cat pictures into a link by placing them between opening and closing anchor tags. You can do the same to words inside of an element, such as p elements. In the text of your p element, turn the words cat photos into a link to https free cat photo app, by placing these words inside the opening and closing anchor tags. So here we have a paragraph. And in there, so in the text of your p element, turn the words cat photo right here into a link. Okay, so we're going to do an A tag in here. Okay, we're going to link here. So copy that link, go in here and do an href. I couldn't paste it. Alright, let's try running that. Oh, I put the wrong address. freecatphotoapp.com. Let me try it again. Copy it. Everything looks the same. What did I do wrong, guys? Click to view more cat photos. So turn the words cat photos. My bad. So it's just cat photos. No, that's it right here. Cat photos. Cat photos. Cat photos. So where am I? Click here to view more cat photos. Click here. Oh, that's where we're supposed to do it. Okay. So let me erase this A tag. I might have messed up here. Let's restart it. Okay, in the text of your P element, turn the words cat photos. So where's cat photos? There it is, and then it's here too. So cat photos. Turn the words cat photos into a link by placing the words inside opening and closing anchor tags. I'm pretty sure that's what I did here. How is this wrong? Try it again. And we did pass this time. I don't know why, but we did. Let's go to the next challenge. Step 13. Now that you turn the text cat photos inside the P element into a link, you don't need the second link below the P element. Delete the entire anchor element below the P. So let's go here, erase that, check code, we pass, go to the next one. Step 14, add a target attribute with the value blank to the anchor element opening tag so that the link opens in a new tab. So let's go here, grab that, and we're adding a target attribute into the A tag. So here's the A tag, and we're adding a target equal to so let's check our code, and we did pass. 15, turn the image into a link by surrounding it with necessary element tags. Use this here, let's copy that as the anchor's href attribute. Okay, turn the image into a link. This is the image, we're turning it into a link by doing a href equals this, and then ending this A tag. Okay, so that's a link now. Check code. We passed. Continue. Step 16. Before adding any new content, you should make use of a section element to separate the cat photo content from the feature content. Take all the elements currently located within the main element and nest them in a section element. So, where's main? Here's main. We're going to nest them in a section element. So here, section, here, section, check it. So I did something wrong. Take all the elements in main and nest them in a section element. Here's section and here's section. Your code doesn't pass. Hint, the entire section element should be between the opening and closing tags of the main element. Oh, so in between. X section, exit, and then add that there. Everything within there should be tabbed, and that should be good. Check it. We passed. Go to the next one. Okay, so step 17. It is time to add a new section. Add a second section element below the existing section element. So this is the current section element. We want to add a new section below the existing section. Let's do that now. Run it. We pass. Let's go to the next one. So it's important to just remember all this is whenever you inspect any web page, this is the stuff it's made from. Sections, H2s for headings, paragraphs for P tags, links for A tags. So step 18 says within the second section element, add a new H2 element with the text cat lists. Let's do that here. So here we have a section. In between it, we're adding an H2 with text cat lists. Run it. We do pass and we see cat lists. Next one says, when you add a lower rank heading element to the page, it's implied that you're starting with a new subsection. After the last H2 element of the second section element, add an H3 element with this text, things cats love. Copy it. So after the last H2, which is here, add an H3. In between, we're adding things cats love. Let's check our code. We pass, and we do see it here. Continue. Step 20. After the H3 element with the things cats love text, add an unordered list or a UL element. Note that nothing will be displayed at this point. So after the H3, let's do that. There we're going to add H3 or there it's just a UL so far, so let's check our code. We pass, go to the next one. So we're going to use a list item to create items in a list. Here's an example of list items in an unordered list. Let's do that here. We're adding milk and then cheese. Let's check that. And within the UL, list 3 items. So let's do one more. Run it. We're not passing. Oh, so we need these 3. Catnip. Laser pointers. Lasagna. Run it. And we did pass. Go to the next one. Step 22, after the unordered list, add a new image with the source attribute value set to this here. So let's copy it and it's alt attribute value. Okay, so unordered list is here. We're going to set its source to that link. Let's run this. Sorry, there should be an image element right after the closing. So I messed something up. Add a new image. So all this shouldn't be here. So it's after the unordered list. Here, image with source and all that other stuff, and then close it. And here is that lasagna. So let's run this We passed. Let's continue. 23. The figure element represents self-contained content and will allow you to associate an image with a caption. Nest the image you just added within a figure element. So we just added this image. Let's nest it within a figure element. So we'll do figure, under it, close it. Run it. We pass. Go to the next one. A figure caption or fig caption element is used to add a caption to describe the image contained within the figure element. For example, fig caption, a cute cat, adds a caption, a cute cat. After the image nested in the figure element, add a fig caption element with text set to cats love lasagna. Let's do that here. So a fig caption. Let's do that. I've never done that. It's used to add a caption to describe the image contained within the figure element. For example, this is the example. After the image nested in the figure element, add a fig caption. So after the image that's nested in here, let's add that fig caption. And then add that text. And then close it. Run it. We do pass. Go to the next one. Step 25. Emphasize the word love in the fig caption element by wrapping it in an emphasis element or an EM element. So here's the example. Here's fig caption. We're going to wrap it in an emphasis element. Run it. It says we didn't do something right. You should surround the text love. Ooh, okay. Here. And then close it here. And then we see that word. Where's that? Cats love lasagna. We see love is emphasized. Let's check code. We pass. Go to next. Step 26. After the figure element, add another H3 element with the text top 3 things cats hate. So after the figure element, here's that figure. We're going after it. And after it, we're adding an H3 with the text top 3 things cats hate. H3. Close it. In between. Top 3 things cats hate. Check code. We pass. Go to the next one. The code, step 27 says the code for an unordered list or an OL is similar to an unordered list, but list items in an ordered list are numbered when displayed. After the second section element's last H3 element, add an ordered list with these 3 items. Let's do that here. So, okay, after the second section elements, the last H3, add an ordered list with these 3 list items. So let's do our list items here. Run it. We pass. Go to the next one. Step 28. After the ordered list, add another figure element. Easy. Run it. We pass. Step 29. Inside the figure element, you just added nest an image element with a source attribute set to this here. Let's copy that. So after the figure, or inside the figure, add an image. Let's do that here. With this source. Okay. Run it. We pass. Go to the next one. 30 to improve accessibility of the image you just added. Do an alt attribute with this text. So in here, alt equals, paste that, check it, we pass, continue. Step 31, after the last image element, add a fig caption element with the text cats hate other cats. So after the last image element, here, fig caption with the text hate other cats, and then fig caption, close it, we pass, go to the next one. 32 says a strong element is used to indicate that some text is of strong importance or urgent. In the fig caption you just added indicate that hate is of strong importance by wrapping in a strong element. So let me see, in the fig caption indicate that hate is of strong importance. Here's here's the word hate. So we're doing strong and we're closing it here and then checking it, past it. Next one. 33 says it is time to add a new section. Add a third section element below the second section. So we're adding a third section under the second one. Here's one, and that goes, where does it go to? Where's that section? There's a second one. Is that the... It's time to add a new section. Add a third section element below the second section. Okay, so that's the first one here. Let's add a second one, or third one. Section, check, run, pass. 34, inside the third section element, add an H2 element with the text cat form. So let's do that here. H2, closing H2, in between cat form, check, pass. Next one. 35, now you will add a web form to collect information from the users. After the cat form heading, add a form element. Let's do that here. Form, check it, we pass. Next one, and we can see all this is happening here on the side too. Step 36 says the action attribute indicates where form data should be sent. For example, form with the action submit URL tells the browser that the form data should be sent to the path submit URL. Add an action attribute with the value. This is the action we want to the form element. Copy it. So we're in our form element. In there we're giving it an action and we're giving it that URL. We're checking it. We pass. So let's submit. Step 37, the input element allows you several ways to collect data from a web form link, like image elements, input elements, or self-closing, and don't need closing tags. Nest an input element in the form element. So again, in here, we have our form, and inside the form, we're giving it an input element, and it is self-closing. So input, and then self-closing. We're going to give our input element, and we're going to give it, oh, it just says nest input in the form. So let's just run that actually. We do pass. It's still not showing up, but let's continue. Step 38. There are many kinds of inputs you can create using the type attribute. You can easily create a password field, a reset button, or a control to let users select the file from their computer. Create a text field to get text input from a user by adding the type attribute with the value text to the input element. So here we have our input element, and we're going to add type with the value of text. Okay, and let's see, we see that here. So we see our input here. Let's check it. We pass, continue. Step 39. In order for forms data to be accessed by a location specified in the action attribute, you must give the text field a name attribute and assign it a value to represent the data being submitted. For example, you could use the following syntax for an email address text field. So here's our input tag. It has this type of text and a name of email. So it says add a name attribute with the value cat photo URL to your text field. Copy that. Here's our type text, and in here we're going to give it a name cat photo URL. Check it. Pass. Go to the next one. Step 40. Placeholder text is used to give people a hint about what type of information to enter into an input. For example, input with type text, placeholder is email address. Add a placeholder text cat photo URL to your input element. So copy your cat photo URL, or inside our input here, it has type text, name, cat photo URL. We're going to give it a placeholder and give it that cat photo URL. And we do pass, continue. 41 says, to prevent a user from submitting your form when required information is missing, you need to add a required attribute to the input element. There's no need to set a value to the required attribute. Instead, just add the word required to the input element, making sure there's a space between it and other attributes. So here we'll just say required. Check it. We do pass. Go to the next one. Step 42 says use the button element to create a clickable button. For example, this is our button element. Click here. Would create a button with the text click here. Add a button element with the text submit below the input element. The default behavior of clicking a form button without any attribute submits the form to a location specified in the form's action attribute. So here we would go with the text submit below the input. So we're below the input, and we're going to say button, and we're going to close the button, and we're going to give it the text submit. So you guys will see this down here. Submit. Let's see if that happened. It's right here. We see the submit button below the input, below with a specified force action attribute. I don't know. Let's just check it. We pass. Let's go to the next one. 43 says, even though that you added your button below the text input, they appear next to each other on the page. That's because both input and button elements are in line, which don't appear on new lines. The button you added will submit the form by default. However, relying on a default behavior may cause confusion. Add the type attribute with the value submit to the button to make it clear that it is a submit. So we'll go into the button, into the opening tag. We'll give it a type of submit. Check that. We pass. Go to the next one. Step 44, you can use radio buttons for questions where you want only one answer out of multiple options. Here's an example of a radio button with the option of cat input type radio right here. Remember that input elements are self-closing before the text input. Add a radio button. So before the text input, Let's go up here, I guess. We're doing indoor. So here's an example of a radio button. So that's so weird. Cat input type is assigned radio cat. Let me see what this looks like. So here's that button. So before the text, add a radio button where the option set is indoor. Set is indoor. Cat indoor. I don't know. Let's check this. We did pass. Okay, so we're still doing this right. We set that. Let's go to the next one. 45. Label elements are used to help associate the text for an input element with the input element itself, especially for assistive technologies like screen readers. For example, label input type radio with the text cat makes it so clicking the word cat also selects the corresponding radio button. Nest your radio button inside a label element. So nest our radio button inside a label element. I don't know if this is right, but here we'll do a label. And then we'll close that label. Check it. We passed. Next. 46. The ID attribute is used to identify specific HTML elements. Each ID attribute's value must be unique from all other ID values for the entire page. Add an ID attribute with the value indoor to the radio button. Here's our radio button. So when elements have multiple attributes, the order of the attribute doesn't matter. So here's our input. We're giving it an ID, I'm guessing. And it's going to be assigned indoor. Let's run it. We pass. Go to the next one. 47 says create another radio button below the first one. Nest it inside a label element with outdoor as the label text. Give the radio button ID attribute with outdoor. So let's copy all this. Go right below it. Paste it. And we're doing outdoor. So let's see, do we see that? Indoor and outdoor. Cool. Run it. We pass. Continue. 48. Notice that both radio buttons can be selected at the same time. To make it so selecting one radio button automatically deselects the other, both buttons must have a name attribute with the same value. Add a name attribute with the value indoor, outdoor to both radios. Okay, so let's do that here. So our radio buttons are here. We're doing name, paste. And we're doing name and paste. Check. We pass. Continue. 49 says if you select the indoor radio button and submit the form data for the button is based on its name and value attribute. Since your radio buttons do not have a value attribute, the form data will include indoor outdoor is assigned on, which is not useful when you have multiple buttons. Add a value attribute to both radio buttons for convenience. Set the button's value attribute to the same value as its ID attribute. So let's do that here. Run it. We pass. Continue. 50 says the field set element is used to group related inputs and labels together in a web form. Field set elements are block level elements, meaning that they appear on a new line. Nest the indoor and outdoor radio buttons within a field set element, and don't forget to indent the radio buttons. Let's try that real quick. So we're nesting the indoor and outdoor radio buttons with a field set element. So field set, and let's go back a little bit, and then under it, field set, don't forget to indent the radio. Well, I didn't indent them, but I made these a little back. Doesn't really matter, but let's run it. We pass. Continue. Step 51, the legend element acts as a caption for the content in the field set element. It gives users context about what they should enter into that part of the form. Add a legend element with the text, is your cat an indoor or outdoor cat, above both the radio buttons. So here's the radio button. Okay, gives user context. So add a legend element with the text above both of the radio buttons. So legend, and then I guess closing legend, and then in there we're doing run it. Sorry, hint your legend element should be the first element right below field set. So right below field set. Run it. Should be the first element right below field set element opening tag and before the radio, the first radio button. So they're saying, so right now, where's this legend at? It's down here. We want to copy that and in field set here, paste it. What do we see here? Is your cat, so the cat form, it's asking if our cat's indoor or outdoor. Let's check it, and we do pass it that time. So step 52, next you're going to add some new form input elements. So add another field set element directly below the current field set element. So we're going to add another field set right below the current one. Here's the field set, and that goes here. Okay, so does that just mean here? Let's see what happens. Run it. We pass. Step 53, add a legend element with the text, what's your cat's personality, inside of the second field set element. Let's do that here. In there we're doing I could probably put this all together. Run it. We pass. 54. Forms commonly use checkboxes for questions that may have more than one answer. For example, here's a checkbox with the options tacos, input type checkbox, then tacos. Under a legend element, you just add an input with its type attribute set to checkbox and give it the option of loving. Okay. So under the legend element, add an input. Okay, and then type checkbox. With the option of loving. I don't know how to do that. Directly to the right of your checkbox. I don't know if let's try it like this. Let me see, input. Do I have another input? So where's my input tag? So I have an input right here. Okay. type checkbox, give it the option of loving. So is it here's input. Input ends here, but I don't see. Is it value? Attributes at the checkbox, give it an option of loving. See, this input is not. Add an input with its type attributes at the check, give it the option of loving. So let's just try to do input and then input. Does that work? The input element should have an opening tag but not a closing tag. Checkbox, option, loving. Capital L. Directly to the right of your checkbox. Make sure there's, maybe they want loving. There it is. That's what it was. Let's run it. So input, type checkbox. Let me see. Input. No, input should have an opening tag but not a closing tag. Directly to the right of your checkbox. This is directly to the right. Make sure there's space between the element and the text. Let's space it. Check. We pass. Cool. Okay, 55. Add an ID attribute with the value loving to the checkbox. So here's our checkbox. Add an ID. Loving. Check it. We pass. Next one, 56. There's another way to associate an input element text with the element itself. You can nest the text within a label element and add a for attribute with the same value as the input element ID attribute. Associate the text loving with the checkbox by only nesting the text loving in a label element and place it to the right side of the checkbox input element. Okay, I don't know what that means. We want to nest the text loving in a label element. Label, so this, maybe? Label? Close label? Nope. The new label element does not have a for attribute. What should the for with the same value as the input element ID? So here, for loving, check, we pass, continue. Step 57, add a name attribute with the value personality to the checkbox input element. So add a name attribute to the checkbox. Here it is. Personality. Check it. Pass. Continue. 58 says add another checkbox after the one you just added. The ID attribute value should be lazy and the name attribute value should be the same as the last checkbox. Also add label element to the right of the new checkbox with the text lazy. Make sure to associate the label element with the new checkbox using the for. Okay, so add another checkbox after the one you just added. Add another checkbox. Okay, so let's go here. Input. ID. Lazy. Name. Personality. So let me close that. Also add a label element to the right of the new checkbox. So label. With the text lazy. Make sure to associate the label element, the new checkbox, using the for. Try that. Sorry, your code doesn't pass. You need to add a new checkbox. Let me see what this is looking like. A new checkbox. Loving, lazy. Oh, I need a type checkbox. Run it. Pass. Continue. 59. Add a final checkbox after the previous one with the ID attribute value of energetic. So add a final checkbox with the previous. Okay. Copy this whole thing. Paste it. Value of energetic. So where's value? I haven't even seen. Oh, value would be here. Energetic. Make sure to associate the label element with the new checkbox. So here ID, energetic, name, energetic. Run it. Your new checkbox should have an ID attribute with the value energetic, ID energetic, okay. And a name attribute with the value personality. So what are the other? Lazy, loving, for, energetic. Now we're good. We run it, we pass. 60. Like radio buttons, form data for selected checkboxes are name value attribute pairs. While the value attribute is optional, it's best practice to include it with any checkboxes or radio buttons on the page. Add a value attribute to each checkbox for convenience. Set each checkbox value attribute to the same value as its ID. So we're doing each checkbox. So let's start with here, input. I think we're doing all the inputs right. So value, indoor, name value, like radio, checkboxes. Where are all the checkboxes? They're down here, so maybe we only need to do the checkboxes. That would be input, value. So where is it? For convenience, to the ID. So loving, lazy, energetic. Run it, we pass, continue. 61 says, in order to make checkboxes checked or radio button selected by default, you need to add the checked attribute to it. There's no need to set a value to the checked attribute. Instead, just add the word check to the input element, making sure there's space between it and other attributes. Make the first radio button in the first checkbox selected by default. Okay, so make the first radio button. That would be this one here. And we're gonna do set the value. Let me see, make the first, okay, in order to make a checkbox select by default, you need to add the checked attribute. So checked. So that's the first radio, and then the first checkbox should have checked also. And then we could run that. We do pass, next one. 62, now you will add a footer section to the page. After the main element, add a footer. Here's our main element here, and after it we're going to add a footer. Run it. We pass. Next. Nest the P element with the text, no copyright. Let's just copy this within the footer. So here, a P element. Close it. Run it. Pass. Continue. 64. Make the text freecodecamp.org into a link by enclosing it in an anchor element. The href attribute should be set to freecodecamp.org. Let's copy this. And like it says, freecodecamp.org, we're going to encase it in the A tag with the href. And then close the A. Run it. We pass. And we're in step 65. Notice that everything you've added to the page so far is inside the body element. All page content element that should be rendered to the page go inside the body element. However, other important information goes inside the head element. Add a head element just above the body. Let's do that real quick. And we're going to do our head. Let us run this. We pass. And step 66, the title element determines what browsers show in the title bar or tab for the page. Add a title element within the head element using the text below. Cat photo app. Let's copy this. And then just add that as our title. Close it. Run it. Passed. 67 says, notice the entire content of the page are nested within an HTML element. All other elements must be descendants of this HTML element. Add the link attribute with the value en to the opening HTML tag to specify that the language of the page is in English, or that the language of the page is in English. So let's do that here. Run it. Past it. And 68. All pages should begin with the doc type HTML. This special string is known as a declaration and ensures the browser tries to meet industry-wide specifications. Let's copy this. Add it, the first line. So here, go there, add it, check code, we pass it. 69. One more thing. You should allow people to use their native language. Tell the browser to encode multiple languages by adding a meta element as a child of the head element. Set its char set attribute to UTF-8. So in the head, we're doing a meta, and we're doing char set UTF-8. And let's try closing. It doesn't say nothing about closing it, so should have a closing tag. Check it, we pass, and I think this is it. So we've basically finished the first section, which was I already forgot the name of it, but basically learning HTML through the Cap Photo app. For now, we're going to end this lesson here, but in the next lesson, we're going to be looking more at CSS and how that works with HTML to give us the visual design of our page. But make sure to go over this and just look over all the things I mentioned, and learn the structuring of your HTML, which makes up any web page that you ever go to, whether it's the paragraphs, the headings, the lists, the buttons. All that is the structure of your web page. Next, we'll look at how to design it, make it look prettier, make it look more visually appeasing. And if that sounds like something helpful to you, I'm going to see you in that next lesson.